alcoholism, and other complex problems. Please don't let
They were going to get some more, and they were speeding. He was going too fast, and from the police report, there wasn't even any skid marks. He came around a curve, and he maybe tried to slow down. Whatever happened, the car flipped, and he went over an embankment.
Now, I know that you are really fighting in your recovery and that you're making progress. And you're 24 years old now, and you go and you speak to students at high schools. Let me ask you honestly, would you have listened to somebody like you if they came into your high school the day before you went on this trip?
Well, I would have heard them and felt bad for them, sure. But whether I would have really reacted to
Or
it.
thought it could ever happen to me.
Yes,
Maybe a different
exactly.
story. You know, students are now trying so hard to take it into their own hands and to fight drinking and driving. And when we continue, we're going to meet some people from MAD, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and some students, many students that you hopefully are working with to bring this message across. Continue with us. A most important segment coming up.
Today on Telling Secrets, with teenage drinking at an all-time high, we'll meet some teens who are speaking out in an effort to keep us all safe. And even if your baby can't talk, they're still trying to tell you things. A leading child psychologist interprets baby talk. Plus, did you shed tears because you missed your high school prom? Your daughter needn't suffer the same fate. It could only happen in the 80s. From Detroit, through the USA Network, it's time for Telling Secrets with Dr. Sonia Friedman. Bogart's for quiet conversation over a delicious meal. A place to meet after a hard day's work. A place to relax and listen to the best in local live entertainment or dance the night away. Bogart's offers it all to you. Plus, every Monday and Wednesday evening, take a closer look at yourself with the psychic experts at Bogart's. Treat yourself, a friend, or family to an enjoyable experience at Bogart's on 5 Mile at Inkster in Redford, or call ahead at 537-5600. That's 537-5600.
The continuing adventures of Mel Farr Superstar, fighting high prices to bring you a far better deal.
That's right. Now is the time to push, pull, or carry your trade, and I guarantee it's worth $1,000 toward the purchase of any used car. Use your trade plus $1,000 down and buy this 84 Express for only $139 a month, or this 84 Tempo for only $149 a month. Other dealers can't guarantee you $1,000 more for your trade, offer service to midnight, and they cannot fly either.
Greenfield and 10 Mile.
We've been talking with Brian Moore and his mother, Marge Moore, and Brian had a terrible accident when he was 17 years of age, drinking and driving, an accident that he doesn't really recall. And as you see him, you note that there is residual as a result of that accident. Joining us now is Larry Rhoda, who is the Michigan coordinator for SAD, Student Against Drunk Driving, Jack Wickens, who's a high school student. Larry, let me ask you about something that I I spoke with the Moores about before, Brian and his mom. Can it help for someone to appear before a high school group? I mean, is this group of high school students any different from high school students around the country, and even Brian himself, who says, I feel real bad for this young person, but that's not me. I mean, that's not going to happen to me.
I think it does an awful lot of good, because I've seen the effect Brian has on other students that he talks to. And I see kids now that are saying, this is really our problem. It's close to us. We're paying too great a price for it. So we're going to do something about it. That's why we see the change.
Jack, you're a high school counselor, and do kids come in and tell you that they're even concerned about their drinking?
I have a lot of kids that come in and talk to me about their friends who are drinking. I think that's a real problem. Some of them see it as a situation where it's a close friend of theirs and they're worried about them. It's not as frequent where a student comes in and tells me about his own drinking problem.
Right. I mean, maybe things have changed, but when I used to work in the high schools, I used to hear kids say a lot that they didn't go to their counselors. They would never go with personal kinds of things into the school because there were records that could be seen by other students who worked in the school. They were afraid that there might be a leak to their parents or get them into difficulty. I mean, have that changed?
Well, I think the biggest thing with kids is confidentiality. You know, if they think that that there will be a leak of confidentiality, there'll be a problem. And I think after you've been in a school system for years, and I've been there for a long time, the kids get to know you, and I think that's not a problem any longer. I think the other situation that you have is that the first person that kids will go to are their own friends. And maybe the counselor is about 3 steps down the line, and I think that it's a kind of a situation where kids help other kids, and I think that's good. Sometimes they need a little more than that, and they come see a counselor.
What is SAD trying to do, Larry?
Well, the students around the country, and that's really the people that are making this happen, are doing something I think is really significant. They're saying, in effect, adults, this is our problem. You've had your chance. Now step aside and watch what we can do.
Ooh, that's quite a message.
And that's what they're doing. I have been so excited. This year is probably, in 20 years in this business, this year has been so exciting for me because I have seen the kids around the country really grasping towards that issue. And I was surprised at first, but as I processed that, not so surprised, because these kids see it every week. Every week they see their friends at parties who have been drinking, get in their cars and drive away. And they know death is only a matter of minutes away for some of them.
Let me get a little sense of what goes on in the high schools and see how honest these kids are willing to be. Do you drink?
Yeah.
Do you worry about your drinking?
No.
Could you give me an idea of how much you drink and how often?
It's not every weekend. It used to be, but say this year, if I go out with my friends, we go to a party, we drink, say between 3 of us, we have like a case.
I think it was between 3 or amongst 3 that there was a case of beer consumed over here. Okay. And that's not a problem for you?
No.
Do you drink and drive?
Not at the same time. Usually if we drink, say if we start at 8 o'clock until 10 or 10:30, and then we stop, it's just kind of there's a cool down period.
There's a modified airline pilot's code that you use for something like that. But you really subscribe to that?
Yeah. This year, in the past, it wasn't that way. I started sophomore and junior in high school. It wasn't that way. It was
You're wiser
drink and
now,
drive,
older and wiser, right? How old are you?
18.
18, okay. Do you drink?
I have before, yes.
What do you mean you have before? You gave it up?
Well, I've tried it, and I found that it just wasn't for me.
Now, you have friends who drink?
Oh, yes, I do.
And do you ever get in the car with any of them?
I have done that, too, but I won't anymore. Ever since I've started this with SAD, I won't.
Now, what would you say to friends who say, come on, I'm just fine. I just had a couple of beers?
I would say, you're not fine, and can I please have the car keys? I would offer to drive home in their car.
Don't they think that you're awful snooty when you do something like that?
Yes. Yeah.
But you're willing to take that kind of response, right?
Now I am, yeah.
Do you drink? No. Not at all, ever?
Never.
How come? I mean, everybody tries one.
I figure the drinking age is 21, and if it's just your prerogative if you want to, and I just don't feel I need to.
I mean, how come everybody drinks? What's the matter with you? What are you, a goody two-shoes?
No, not everybody does drink, but there are a lot. And those who just don't want to, just feel they don't need to.
Who rehearsed these kids? Did you rehearse these kids over here so they'd come up with all these good answers?
Not him.
Huh? Either of you have anything to do with that? Most kids wouldn't answer this way. I mean, these seem to be fairly honest answers, certainly, especially the admissions. But the idea that you're going to stand up to your friends and say, give me the car keys, would you like it if your son or daughter gave the keys to the car to this young woman over here whom you don't even know, your brand new car? You'd much rather have your son and daughter drive it home and take that risk, wouldn't you?
A couple years ago I might have, but now I think I would prefer the alternative.
Mm-hmm. Do you have children?
2.
Do they drink?
I think so.
How old are they?
18 and 19.
What have you told them about drinking and driving?
The rule in our household is simply, if you're going to drink, you don't drive.
Mm-hmm. Do they obey that rule?
Not always.
All right. Marge, what did you tell Brian about drinking and driving? Do you remember?
I honestly didn't know that Brian drank much unless he would have a glass of beer or something home with his dad. Mm-hmm. So I never warned him against this because of all my 8 children, I had never had that problem. And they were all older than Brian except 2. But the last thing I said to Brian when he walked out that door as I gave him the keys was, now, Brian, you be careful. He had never gotten a ticket. He had never been a bad driver at all that I knew. And I said, there's going to be a policeman on every corner. It's Memorial Day weekend. He says, oh, my, I will. And I said, just be careful. I will. And he was running a comb through his hair, and I said, time to get your hair mowed, kid. And he said, yeah, I know. And that was the last thing Brian spoke, the last word he spoke for almost 2 years.
My God.
He could not speak. Even when he came out of the coma, he could not speak. And when he did learn to speak, after I brought him home from the hospitals, after 2 years of in a nursing home, you couldn't understand a word he said. It was garbled. And he would get so frustrated, and I would get so frustrated. But this kid has come for 7 years. It's taken him to get to where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
And all because he thought that a few beers made him feel like he could do anything. But a few beers takes away your ability to do anything when it comes behind that wheel. And I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I can't let myself let that kid get a driver's license. And she's begged, and she's pleaded, and she's stormed, and she finally saved up enough money and took driver's ed on her own. And I still haven't got her license. She's got a permit. And if I go to the store, she'll say, Ma, let me drive, and I'll say, no. And I freeze up just like that. No, I cannot give her that car.
Marge, do you drink?
I drink socially, and I can honestly say that if I've had 2 or 3 drinks and I think, I gotta go home, I've got all those kids at home, even when I was really young, I've got kids at home, and I cannot. I had a deterrent. Your young people today don't have it. They don't have that. I've got responsibilities, I've got this, like we do.
Well, it's so interesting that in this country, adults seem to be moving away from hard liquor and into flavored mineral waters and into light wines and a number of things. When we continue, let's find out if kids followed us into the game of drinking and driving, because we were the initial culprits, I think, in many, many ways as the model. Are they following us also into devaluing alcohol in the fiber of this society? And let's talk about some of the wonderful, innovative things that kids are doing to take over where they feel, at least, that their parents have failed. Right after this.
Discover a contract for life to save a life.
Target grand opening. The building team hurries to meet the deadline. All major carpet mills participate with big opening specials. The store is open, the sale is on. The carpets are low priced, padding's free, and you get 6 months credit free. Philadelphia Plush, $588. Salem High-Low, $493. Horizon Sculpture, $488. Thousands of rolls, grand opening price, and padding's free with any carpet. Our biggest, lowest price grand opening sale is happening now at all our stores. But it ends this Saturday, so hurry to New York Carpet World.
And my dear, she was positively dripping with Folens.
Oh, really? One name in town is synonymous with the finest quality diamonds.
With this Folens, I thee wed.
Folan's is making its name with this quality diamond jewelry collection that offers you the finest cuts, color, clarity, and carat weights, and the finest prices. Save 50% off the retail price, but only now and only at Folan's. When it comes to diamonds,
Folan's are a girl's best friend.
The Tigers broke all kinds of records last year, and you can bet that they're going to do it again. But there'll be one record they won't want to break, and you won't want them to either. It's the new edition of Curtis Gatson's new hit single, Bless You Boys. With the flip side, Take Me Out. 50 cents from each record sale will be donated to the Tri-County Easter Seal Society. So, catch the new hit single, Bless You Boys, available at your local record stores.
Hi, I'm Ben Snowden. And I'm Robert Wynn. And we're from Finney High School. We're having a great prom, and we're going to make it a lasting occasion by not drinking and driving. You can, too. Make your prom the best night of your life.
Channel 4 and Channel 56 congratulate Finney High School on a safe prom.
Let me ask you to explain what I have in my hand. It's a student-parent contract, and apparently it's a contract for life between parent and teenager, the SAD drinking driver contract. What is this, Larry?
One of the things that we try to, in SAD, we really say that death has been camouflaged for our youngsters in two ways. One has to do with a lack of communication with our parents. That kids and parents have kind of put one another at a place where, because of our love for one another, we shelter. At least the kids don't tell us about it because they don't think we can handle it. One thing that we have developed is the SAD contract for life.
Okay, let me read it because it's really wonderful. The parent agrees to come and get you at any hour, any place, no questions asked, no argument at that time, or pay for a cab to bring you home safely, and I expect that we'll discuss this issue at a later time. I agree to seek safe, sober transportation home if I am ever in a situation where I've had too much to drink or a friend who is driving. The teenager agrees to call home for advice and or transportation any hour, any place, ever in a situation where I've had too much to drink or a friend or a date who's driving me has had too much to drink. Now, you had a comment about this, ma'am, during the break when I held this up, and I don't understand why you don't feel this is working.
Oh, I think it's terrific. We have 250 students over at Lincoln. We support SAD. The only part that doesn't seem to be working for us is parents don't seem to want to call their children. They just don't seem to.
You mean the parents are drunk? If they're really sloshed, they won't call their teenage kids?
Yes.
Do you blame them? They should be embarrassed about that.
That's true, but I also think that the drinking problem originated way back with the parents. And I think if they want the...
so they want to set a standards from their kids that they're not willing to ascribe to themselves.
They have to be more honest.
Yeah.
A little more.
Okay. Would you agree that that might be a problem in the contract?
I think it's a problem if parents haven't really had the appropriate orientation or really understand the implications of that contract. Then I think it might be a problem. I don't think that... I talk to groups of parents and they say, I can't wait for my son or daughter to bring home that contract. And I talk to the kids and they say, my parents aren't ready to deal with this. That's what I see as the big problem.
I would see that as a problem, too. What about you people over here? Any innovative things going on in your school to deal with drunken driving? Anybody have any suggestions that you're doing something? Do you?
At our school, we started SAD last year. We have, last year during graduation and prom, the SAD organization at our school, they brought in a wreckage of a car from drunk driving of a teenager. And they set it out in front of the school property. This year, now they have two. Each other year, they're going to be putting one additional one every year.
Did it do any good, do you think?
I think it does. Really,
Did it stop you? Yeah, okay. Anything else?
They put a casket in our school store window.
They put a casket there?
It was Operation Prom.
Operation Prom. Wow, what a reminder that is. Talking about Operation Prom, Sue Carter's with us. She's from WDIV, our local station here in Detroit. Tell us a little bit. Would you stand, Sue? Tell us a little bit about what's happening here in Detroit, because you're involved in the campaign.
Well, right. Locally, we have Project Graduation, which follows along those lines. There's a pledge card, which the students and the parents sign. And also, we honor schools which have more than 50 students sign up and pledge that they will not drink and drive, that they will seek a ride, and that they will not ride with someone who has been drinking. And we've had great success so far. 50% sign up in 25% of the schools. So 1 out of 4 high schools in the Detroit area, the students there have signed those cards.
Now, of course, the idea is whether they follow through after they sign.
It's hard to measure.
Yeah, that is true. It's hard to measure.
So far, of all of the schools that have participated, there has not been a fatality on a prom night.
Oh, terrific.
On the part of students.
That's
so
terrific.
That may be the best measure we
Right.
have.
Thank you. Now, Jack, I want to ask you something. I asked about the fact that adults are giving up vodka for mineral water. Are kids moving away from the hard stuff, too?
Well, the University of Michigan did a study, and they say yes. They say that drinking is down and drug use in among high school students is down. And talking to my own students, they're not sure about that, whether it's down or not, but they say that about 90% of the kids in school do drink. So I'm not sure, you know, how the statistics are arrived at or whether our school is atypical. But we do have a drinking problem in our schools, and I think, you know, that has to be addressed. And I think that the ones who are addressing it the best are the students themselves.
You mentioned to me that Brian came to speak at your school and that he just stopped the crowd. And they really pay attention, because kids pay attention to other kids. And Sue, part of the campaign that's being done here at WDIV is running spots, promotional spots, where teens talk to other teens. Let's take a look at one of those spots.
Hi, I'm John Deaton,
Hi, I'm Alicia Dozier.
and we're from St. Mary's Regional High School in Royal.
We're making our prom a night to remember, and you can too.
Keep the memories alive, don't drink and drive.
Make your prom the best night of your life.
Channel 4 and Channel 56 congratulate St. Mary's Regional High School on a safe prom.
That's wonderful, Scott. That's really nice. Let me ask you practically, will kids pay attention? Will they listen to that, do you think?
Yes, I really think they will, Sonia. I have been SAD's sponsor for a year and a half now, and in the 17 years I've been a high school counselor, I have never seen so much enthusiasm as I have now regarding SAD, because I think teenagers are trying to deal with the life experience of alcohol. A lot of single-parent families are experiencing alcohol everywhere, and they're bringing it home, and there's more than just SAD that's bringing this whole issue to a head. And the preppies, the burnout, the average students, the total school population is excited about SAD, and I really have to tell you that. And I'm not, I think I've done my own survey to find out. At Christmas time, we did a survey of the students to try to develop an awareness of where they're at. And we found 90% factors across the board of no, I would not drink and drive if I could have the opportunity to be in that position, you know?
Okay,
So yes, I
that's
do
wonderful.
think so.
Let me check with somebody else in the school district. Would you stand for just a minute? You work with youngsters, don't you? I'm kind of curious to know, are you really seeing a change? Are we paying lip service to something that isn't happening?
No, I think that we're seeing a big change. Students are aware of the dangers.
Why are they changing? Is it because they now are in touch with their own mortality? Psychologically, that doesn't happen to us until we're somewhere between 40 and 50. How come they're taking a look at this now and never before?
Well, it probably is because of the SAD program and the awareness that is bringing to the students. What would your reaction be if you drove up to school and saw 2 wrecked vehicles sitting out in front of you?
I might think the same thing that adults think when they show them disease, lungs, and cancer and say, they pulled those out of somewhere. That's not going to happen to me.
How about a casket in the school store showcase?
They're just trying to scare me. Don't you feel that way? They're just trying to scare you, no? No.
They're very persistent with, after a week of that,
they
we
don't see
went
it
to
as propaganda. They see it as really
I
happening. Do you
think they
tag articles that are in newspapers so that kids
chains
can
at the
see?
proms with Arrive Alive in '85. So it's a constant barrage of...
Terrific.
This is Vicki Griffin in Weather Watch. The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm watch that will remain in effect until 7 o'clock Eastern time for most of southern lower Michigan. At around 4:30 this morning, some isolated very heavy thunderstorms embedded in an area of solid thunderstorms extended from about 60 miles wide. This line extended just south of the Bay City, Michigan, and then went southeastward across Lake St. Clair to the northwest shore of Lake Erie. The strongest storms were to the northeast of Detroit and near Flint in Michigan. There are also scattered lines of heavy thunderstorms from eastern Lake Huron southward across Ontario and eastern Lake Erie into northeastern Pennsylvania. Hail, frequent and dangerous lightning, torrential rains, very heavy rains, gusty winds, and some flooding can be expected in these storms as they pass overhead. Some of the roads, especially along the interstates, are already flooded, so you'll want to keep an eye on that. Once again, there is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 7 o'clock this morning for southern lower Michigan. If you hear any threatening weather, please seek a place of safety. I'll be back with more details as the situation warrants. This is Vicki Griffin in Weather Watch.
You know that you're talking to parents and children around this country. And would you like to say something to them about drinking and driving?
Wow. You high schoolers, don't mess with it. Drinking and driving, it's like a dead-end street. You'll start by having a good time, probably, but you're so messed up, your reactionary abilities are so hampered, and it's like suicide.
Brian, thank you for that. That's tough for you to say, I'm sure. But if you want some more information about SAD, you can write to SAD, that's S-A-D-D, P.O. Box 800, Marlborough, Massachusetts, 01752. We're going to take a look at the brighter side of proms when we continue. Thank you.
Coming up, the prom date a girl could never forget.
Ladies and gentlemen, look at this. Gibraltar Trade Center's weekend public market. Fun and excitement over 800 exhibit areas. 2 million people attended the Trade Center last year. We're located in Taylor, Michigan at Eureka and I-75, open Friday at 12 noon and all day Saturday and Sunday. Arts, crafts, antiques, small business, American enterprise at its best at Gibraltar Trade Center. Come see for yourself what everyone is talking about. 25 cents admission, seniors and kids free.
Every man's question.
What do you feel like doing tonight?
I don't know. What do you feel like doing tonight? Every man's search.
I've been looking for a good time every Saturday night of my life.
Every man's answer lies deep inside the RCA building.
Saturday night. No, night. Be there. Let's all be there.
For Saturday Night Live at 11:30 following News 4.
Prom night's supposed to be the most glorious night in a girl's life, right? I didn't go to the prom. I didn't have a date. Did you go to your prom?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Because I didn't have a date.
Oh, good. I'm glad. If I had known, we could have been together that night. Did you go?
Yes, I did.
With the man of your dreams?
Well, a friend.
Not the man of your dreams. Did you go to the prom?
Yeah.
A man of your dreams?
Yeah, no.
Was it really?
Well, yeah.
Well, yes. A little bit of confusion here, but I want to tell you, ladies, if you had only known about this, it could have been the man of your dreams. It could have been a knight in shining top hat and tails, because all the way from Westbury, New York, we have an opportunity to talk with Michael and Marco Basilico. Prom dates? You escort young ladies to the prom, Michael?
Yes, we do.
Now, how old are you guys? You're twins, I understand. You're how old, Marco?
We're 23.
23 years of age. Aren't you a little embarrassed at 23 to be going to high school proms?
Well, we go to college proms, too. But I would say we're more experienced now, being 23.
My goodness. Now, who pays for the prom and the evening afterwards?
Okay, well, the girl would pay for the bid, which is the ticket, because they wouldn't have the opportunity to ask us if they did not have a ticket. Once they have that ticket, in New York they call it a prom bid. I don't know what they call it or anywhere else. And then we'll go out and that evening, we'll pay for the pictures, we'll take a carriage ride, and we'll go out that whole evening and pay for the disco and if transportation if need be.
What's the most memorable prom you've ever been to?
Well, mine was when I pulled up to the girl's house. I rented a white tuxedo, And before, as I got into the limo and her house, I saw there was a stain on the tuxedo, but it was in a very bad position. It was on the crotch of the pants. Not my fault. And as I was going in, I was putting chalk on it as I was entering the girl's house, trying to cover the stain, because I had a white tuxedo. And as I got into the house, I had only met the mother once, and I walked in past the mother. She had given me a white crayon, and that had a blue streak in it. So from the chalk that had a red streak in it, it was blue, red, and brown.
Now, I must ask you, that's a wonderful story. Michael, do you happen to have a steady girlfriend, or does Marco have a steady girlfriend?
Excuse me?
Do you have steady girlfriends?
No, we don't.
I just kind of wondered what your mother and friends think of your escort service.
Well, it's not really an escort service. I mean, we pay for it, so it's just a bunch of mini adventures, you know, making a lot of friends. See, we were studying engineering, and it's very tedious, and so when this prom season came around, it took us away from the books. And it was a lot of fun.
This is the time of the entrepreneur. And coming out of New York, I must tell you, you two guys have done a sensational job. If you start by escorting high school and college girls to proms, and you're only 23, God only knows what you're going to be doing by the time you're 30. Thanks for being with us today, guys. We really enjoyed it. And good luck. Happy promming. When we continue, we're going to tell you about your baby. We're going to talk about the developmental stages that your baby is at and what your baby is trying to say. Stay with us.
How to hear what your baby cannot say.
Good morning, Breakfast Clubbers. My wife, Kay, has been stricken by Alzheimer's disease, a physical disorder that destroys the brain. Started slowly, she'd forget small things, then important things, and it got worse. She couldn't recognize old friends, our family, or even me. The Alzheimer's Disease and Related Disorders Association helped us, and if you need help, call this number.
Most of us approach life's most challenging job with little, if any, training. Our job as a parent. Psychologist Dr. Lawrence Bolter says if you know what to expect, parenting could be made easy. He's here to update us on predictable stages and phases of your baby's life.
I want to know if you believe that women have a maternal instinct.
Well, I tell you, I hope I don't get on your wrong side off the bat, but I think everybody has a parental instinct, men and women, but it can't be depended on entirely, because we read so much about child abuse and neglect, and kids are really still being...
This is Vicki Griffin in Weather Watch. The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm watch that will remain in effect until 7 o'clock Eastern time for most of southern Lower Michigan. Beginning around 4:30 this morning, isolated very heavy thunderstorms began in the area of solid thunderstorms, extended about 50 miles wide from about Bay City, Michigan, southeastern across Lake St. Clair to the North Shore of Lake Erie. The strongest storms were to the northeast of Detroit and near Flint, Michigan. There is a scattered line of heavy thunder from culture from eastern Lake Huron, southeastern across Ontario, and eastern Lake Erie, and northeastern Pennsylvania. You can expect hail, frequent lightning, gusty winds, and flooding can be expected as these storms pass overhead. Remember, a watch, a severe thunderstorm watch, does mean conditions are favorable when severe thunderstorms develop. Should any severe thunderstorms develop, we for Weather Watch will of course keep you posted. This is Vicki Griffin in Weather Watch. Have a great day.
to feeling you're not doing the job well.
Is it true that the place that we really learn mothering is from our mothers, and if that didn't work out well, we're all in a lot of trouble?
I think that's the case. How many times the new parents tell you, I vowed I'd never say that to my kid, and then in the heat of some moment, word for word, in the same syntax, the same articulation, they're saying just what their mother said to them.
Exactly. So what is the clue that you give us, doctor? Do you take one crisis at a time and tell yourself, he's going to grow up. She's going to go away to college one day. It's all going to be all right.
Well, I wish it were as easy as that. I think what you need to do is think through your previous day. See, most of the time we go from day to day. We take a day at a time, as they say, but we don't think through the previous day. Think about the fights you had, or think about the things that frustrated you in relation to your child. Perhaps there's a better way to handle those situations so you don't just keep repeating the same errors. I think it's a mistake also to expect things of your child that your child may be incapable of doing. You know, very often we expect the child should understand things because we take so many things for granted. We've had a lot of experience. For kids, every day is a new experience. It's new learning. Oh, there's a shiny object. Let me grab that and see if it breaks.
This is Vicki Griffin in Weather Watch. The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 7 o'clock Eastern Time for most of southern lower Michigan. At 4:30, some very isolated heavy thunderstorms that were embedded in an area of solid thunderstorms extended along a line about 60 miles wide. This line extended just south of Bay City, Michigan, southeastward across Lake St. Clair to northwest shore of Lake Erie. The strongest storms were to the northeast of Detroit and also near Flint, Michigan. There's also a scattered line of heavy thunderstorms from around eastern Lake Huron, southeastward across Ontario, and eastern Lake Erie into northeastern Pennsylvania. You can expect hail in these storms, frequent lightning, gusty winds, heavy torrential downpours, and possibly some flooding can be expected along roadsides as these storms pass overhead. As you can see them on the radar now, they are moving out of the metro area, but there's still some moderate to heavy thunderstorms scattered around. Once again, a severe thunderstorm watch just means the conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms to develop. Should any severe thunderstorms develop, we here at Weather Watch will keep you posted. This is Vicki Griffin in Weather Watch. Back to regular programming.
Or doesn't reach for it, or doesn't show joy, or is really looking to have her own needs met and not showing some expression of already saying, that's my baby. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I can't comment on whether there's truth to those observations. If someone reports, so I'm not in the delivery room with them, if someone reports that they're witnessing that, then of course there's truth to what they've seen. I think there certainly is truth to the fact that a mother who doesn't have that immediate love affair should get some training and some help, really, in developing a love toward the child, because I think that's where you see a critical issue happening. The lack of bonding immediately, I think, disrupts the child's attachment, and then it's very hard to repair that later on.
Well, if that's the case, we just saw a witness to a woman who had septemblis. One was stillborn. There are 6. And on the news the other day, I heard that these are babies who may be in a hospital
for about 3 months.
3 months.
I saw that too and had the same, I don't know what your reaction was, but I had a reaction to
now,
that
how
too.
do you start to bond when something like that happens? And it does happen to people with premature births or some defect that there is at birth, or the mother may be having a certain problem.
Some circumstances are really less than ideal. And although we say it's necessary and one ought to do it and encourage it, there are situations where you can't do it. I think if they possibly can, that mother should be in there. You know, years ago, no one suggested that if a baby were in an incubator, a premature baby, were kept in a special environment, that someone should go over there periodically and stroke the baby or rock it. But they learned that the babies need those interactions. They shouldn't just be isolated. Perhaps they can work something like that out for her.
And when we hear that over 60% of women are in the job force, we know that a lot of women are going back to work very quickly. As a matter of fact, I've been interested to note that many men, younger men in this instance, are looking forward to their wives going back to work because they feel deprived monetarily when she starts to stay home with the child. So that may even push her to go back early. Lots of us worry, will I be the maternal figure if there's somebody else in the house?
Yeah, that's a good point, a question that many mothers have asked me. I think children know, now there's very little research on this, but the little research that there is suggests that children know their mother's voice. They can identify and pick out their mother from other people right from birth. So there must be something about being in that internal environment and being a fetus. One must have some sense of being in relationship with that mother. So that I don't mean it mystically. I think there may be tones, there may be a rhythm, there may be a temperament, but when babies are born, they do pick out the mother's voice over other voices, seem to be comforted by her sounds and her touch, her smell. Some research has shown babies identify the mother's smell. Not that they identify the mother's smell, I should be more precise. They can recognize
Chanel
that
number
smell.
5. They already come out with wonderful taste and probably a gold card at American Express. When we continue, let's continue a little bit with infancy. That seems to be a very, very important time to get things established correctly. And then I have lots of questions that people have asked me. What a great opportunity for me to ask you and have you as the expert. So we'll do lots more.
Lead your baby on the path towards emotional well-being.
Here are 5 important reasons to call John A. Steinberger, the attorney. Your marriage is breaking up. Your house is in foreclosure, and you have too many bills. You were arrested for drunk driving. You had an accident at work, in a car, or anywhere. You need a will, a contract, or help with any legal problem.
Hello, I'm John Steinberger. You don't have to face your legal problems alone. Call me for experienced legal help and personalized service at an affordable fee.
Call 559-4055 now.
Waterbed City, the fastest growing bedroom furniture chain, is at it again. Waterbed City opens another beautiful showroom. In celebration, Waterbed City has put every waterbed on sale for our new grand opening. A classic ready-to-assemble soft-side water mattress is only $2.99. This exciting all-new 4-poster waterbed just $1.99. And only at Waterbed City is the mattress pad, sheet set, 2 pillows, and a cotton comforter included at no extra charge. Every waterbed comes that way, and everyone is on sale only through Sunday at every Waterbed City.
Do you really want to hurt me?
Everybody's clapping for their favorite music video show, New York Hot Tracks. Each week, video disc jockey Carlos De Jesus brings you today's hottest videos, world premieres, and your favorite stars, all from New York City's hottest clubs. Get on the right track with New York Hot Tracks. Saturday night at 1 a.m. here on Channel 4. Go for it. This summer, millions of Americans will expose their skin to excessive amounts of the sun's ultraviolet rays. The short-term effect, painful sunburn. The long-term effect, premature aging and several forms of skin cancer. There are ways to help prevent sunburn. First, limit your exposure during the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Second, wear loose protective clothing. And last, use a water-resistant sunscreen with a protection level that's right for your skin type. This is a public service announcement from the American Academy of Dermatology.
We're talking to psychologist Dr. Lawrence Balter. His book is Dr. Balter's Child Sense. He may be familiar to you in another way. He's with ABC TalkNet as well as a columnist for Ladies Home Journal. And our audience, the issue of bonding is a very important one, I think, to many of us as mothers. So let's take a couple of audience questions about that.
Yes, I was in a foster home in an orphanage, excuse me, from very early and was beaten severely. And as an adult, people have always said, well, you just forget it. You know, you just forget and go on like normal people. I haven't been able to, and I was wondering if that would be a problem.
Yes, as a matter of fact, when people think about adopting older children, maybe that is something to be looked at.
Yeah, most assuredly. If you're adopting an older child, you want to know what happened in the lifetime of that child earlier. You know, the earliest stages really, I think, create a base upon which all the subsequent stages develop. And so if there are serious problems early, then it seems to me you're going to see repercussions of those problems later on, and you really have to address yourself. I was going to ask you, once you mentioned that had happened to you, whether you could really forget, because someone said, it's like someone telling you, don't be nervous, you know, don't feel guilty.
Yeah, but are you a mother?
Yes, I had
And so where do you get your modeling for parenting?
Oh, that was the hard part, because I had no blueprint, and I tried to be a good parent from what I read, but I would find myself relating to the children like my foster home. I expected too much, and I would get very angry with them. They're all growing now, and, you know, they've turned out fairly well.
So help is really necessary in those kinds of situations.
It's really a courageous admission, and it's interesting to hear from a person telling us that you tended to repeat something that you had done, been done to you when you were a child.
That's important, because so many people try to hide their heads from it, you know, and say, well...
That is important. That is important. Thank you. I'm going to go on to your question.
Well, I was about to ask basically the same thing, I guess. I was wanting to know, how do you instill the bonding in a child that is adopted when you haven't had the child maybe for the first 6 or 8 months, or maybe for a year?
Let's say that it hasn't been beaten or even neglected, but has spent some time in another environment or a couple of other environments. Is it too late?
Well, if the child had an opportunity, by the way, nobody has a full, thorough answer to this, because there really hasn't been sufficient research to really give us a direct answer to that. My hunch is if the child were able to develop a good attachment early, even with somebody else, that at least the seeds are there for the capability to make an attachment. And then if you adopt a child at 6 months or 8 months, you have an opportunity now to work with a child who's already been able to
This is going to be a crazy question, Lawrence, but if What about in selection of mates? Are there some ways that we would know if people can form attachments? You know, in psychology, we talk about psychopaths. As women, very selfishly, we'd like to know if a man is capable of forming an attachment to us. Is there some way, I mean, isn't that true? I mean, is there some way that we might be able to see if he has that capability?
Two thoughts came to my mind. I don't know that we're ever able to predict as well as we'd like to think we can do as psychologists, but, you know, I thought, and not to trivialize it, I thought to myself as you asked the question, well, we have psychological tests that people can take. Maybe we should have everybody take tests and find out who can make an attachment. Another way, though, is you're in a relationship with someone, one would hope, before you decide on their being the father of your child. And you can get a sense.
Doesn't always work then.
I certainly know that. But you can at least begin to think about that issue. Is he able to make an attachment to me? Is there a sense of commitment? Is this a person who has loyalty? Is this a person who will put himself out for somebody else? Is this a person who can be self-sacrificing? Because that's really the issue with children. It's a tremendous job and a lot of self-sacrifice.
For us to look at some of that. I'm going to move up a little bit. You know, at each phase of the generations, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, we're pushed into a variety of things. I remember as a young mother, nursing was not considered important. In fact, if you propped up a bottle and walked out of the room, the kid wouldn't go to Freud. You felt comfortable. And then all of a sudden, nursing became the biggest deal in the world. Is it really better for the baby, better for the mother, both? Must I nurse even if I don't want to?
Well, if you don't want to, certainly don't do it, because whenever someone tells you to do something that you're not comfortable, it's like telling you to say something to somebody and the words just aren't formed by you and they don't really come out of your mouth in the way they ought to. Don't do it. I think medically, so many pediatricians recommend nursing because you pass on immunities to the child, so it's probably healthier. As far as the intimacy and the comfort and the reassurance you can offer to a baby, I think you can probably offer as much through bottle feeding. The idea, though, would be not to prop a bottle. That's something I am against for a variety of reasons. One is, of course, the child can gag. Secondly, the child probably swallows a lot of air and gets a lot of gas. But the more important reason, it seems to me, is you'd want the feeding experience to be a pleasurable one for the baby, so the baby feels it's a wonderful place to be. I mean, it's a hard
Talking about
world.
wonderful places to be, you know, there's a California group that suggests that we take our babies into our room and sometimes into our bed and leave them there until they're 18 or so. What is the current thinking of people who work in child development?
Well, I think the general consensus is against the idea of the family bed. It's called a family bed idea. I'm not in favor of it. I think it's very important for a youngster to learn that it's perfectly safe and sound in its own space at night. So your son or daughter can really spend the night without being in your bed and without being in your room and know that everything's fine. If the child needs some reassurance during the night, you can certainly go in and reassure the child. If the child becomes dependent on being in your room or in your bed, then that technique of falling asleep stays with them for years. You can't get them out of your bed then later on. I think it's slightly overstated when the people who advocate family beds say, well, the child will outgrow it and want to be in his or her own bed. Once you're accustomed to sleeping on, you know, this side of the bed, facing that position, with the bed against this wall, you get used to it. And if someone turned your bed around and had you face the window instead of the door or moved it to the middle of the room, you're going to have a hard time falling asleep. So a baby being accustomed to hearing the sounds in the room or hearing the breathing or being right there next to mom or dad, I think that introduces a problem you can just as well avoid.
Tell us a little bit about discipline. When do you start and how do you do it? Because I know you're going to tell me you don't believe in spankings.
Yes, I'm going to say I don't believe in spankings. That's right. Discipline...
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Discipline begins really with day one. I think you're in charge of a situation here. Your job, it seems to me, is to protect and guide a child. Discipline means to help develop a child, help the child's self-esteem, help the child's self-confidence, help the child, enable the child to be a self-starter and to have initiative. That's what discipline means to me. Discipline is helping a child have initiative and have good self-esteem and self-confidence. How do you do that, then, if you don't smack them around? I think if you smack a child around, you lower their self-esteem, and then you have more problems. If a child wants to do something you don't want them to do, you got to redirect them. You sometimes have to physically restrain them. That doesn't mean hit them necessarily. If the child has a tantrum, and I may be jumping the gun here, but if a child has a tantrum, which kids, I mean, all kids have tantrums from time to time. What do? You pick a child up, you can envelop a child in your arms and hold a child and physically restrain a child and say, look, I'm going to hold you until you calm down. I don't want you to hurt yourself. And you lower your voice. It's very hard. It takes a lot of self-control. And you may have the impulse to smash a child. But remember, if your child gets smashed, what's the child going to do when the child's frustrated? It's going to turn around and smack some other kid. I can't tell you how many parents have called me and said, you know, my child's hitting, pushing, pinching, biting, pulling hair, whatever. I said, what do you generally do? Well, I've said no, I've put him in his room, and I've smacked his hand. Well, there, you smack his hand, and then when he smacks somebody else, you don't want him to do it. Hardly the example that you want to provide a child with.
Let's take one last question. Yes.
Yes, I'm wondering about the number of children that are in daycare centers or homes, that type of environment. What do you see as the effects of this? Are they positive? Do you see any negatives?
Yeah, I think the results are just now coming in. We don't have a whole lot. There are pros and cons, naturally, with everything, because if you leave a child at home with a mom, there's going to be pros and cons. No matter which way you look at it, there's a negative and a positive. Some of the studies on children who've spent a lot of time in daycare have indicated they become more independent. Others have said they become more aggressive. Of course, one of the things we need now is more precision measurements to see, is it more aggression or is it more independence, really? I think a lot depends on the nature and the quality of the substitute care. Seems to me the first months of a child's life, and I probably would like to extend it to the first year, care, if it's going to be substitute care, should be one-on-one care, and it really would better be in the child's own home if it's possible, rather than in an institutional setting. That might be a bit much for a child to manage. Now, if you think about it, a young child being in a daycare center for 40 hours a week, for 5 days a week, that's a lot. Even you, if you travel around on vacation and go to wonderful hotels, and you had a great time, when you come home, don't you kind of breathe a sigh of relief to be in your own bed? I think the same thing probably holds for kids.
You have a lot of good information for us, and you have a wonderful way of putting it. It's a delight having the opportunity to meet you. Really a privilege. Thank you. Enjoyed it, and we'll continue with more, another topic, right after this.
If you'd like to join us in our studio audience, free tickets are available by calling area code 313-222-0680 or write tickets, P.O. Box 440.
Graduation in Harper Woods. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. I'll have a live report.
Sports Project graduation is gradually coming to a close. High school students in Harper Woods are holding their prom tonight, and they are the last involved in the Don't Drink and Drive program. News Force Kevin Kerrigan is standing by live now at their prom with the story. Kevin?
That's right, Rich. You know, these graduates here at Harper Woods High School deserve some kind of award because all of them, all 60 of them, have signed the Project Graduation Pledge not to drink and drive tonight. Instead, they've come here to Harper Woods High School for a party they put on their own. You know, throughout this spring, a lot of schools, that was very well done on cue. How about that? A lot of schools, parents, and students like those here tonight have participated in Project Graduation, making it one of the safest prom seasons in a while.
In the past month and a half, thousands of graduating seniors have made the pledge, vowing not to drink and drive, not to drive with someone who has been drinking, and to call. In all, 98 area schools have participated, and 60 of them have made the Project Graduation honor roll after more than 50% of their seniors signed on. Lee Landis, state chairman of MAD, started the program 2 years ago and says this is just the beginning.
This will be a long-term effort. They're going to be parents one day, and we hope that they're going to be able to get this message and spread it around the community and spread it to their own families. And give us a generation, we're going to lick the drinking and driving problem in this country.
Project Graduation and other programs like it have already borne fruit. Although there have been a number of drunk driving arrests of high school-age students this year, there has not been a single alcohol-related auto fatality or serious accident following prom or graduation celebrations at any high school in the 5-county area this spring. Law enforcement officials say they've noted the impact.
There are some that are still being arrested, obviously, but I would say that all the programs that have accumulated have started to have an impact on the high school level, even where organizations or where groups are starting their, or I should say students are starting their own organizations within the high schools, and I think it's had an impact.
Well, we're back live at the Harper Woods graduation party. Plenty of fun here tonight and lots of Coke. Joining us right now is Jerry Saxon, the class president. Tell us what Project Graduation has meant to your class here this year.
Well, our class is really close, and the whole city is a big family, and the class really took it very seriously, and we all looked out for each other. It was really a great project for us.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. Joining us now here is Pat Kuntz, who's one of the parents, one of the organizers that's put this event on. You tell me you've been doing this for 25 years here, but have you ever seen this kind of participation?
No, not this great. I think it really helped because we are a smaller group. We've all seen the kids grow up from little children, and it's like family, and we're a very close-knit community. And the parents have been fantastic. And as you can see, so are the kids, and we love them.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Rich, back to you.
Okay, Kevin, they're having a great time, and they should be. Congratulations to everybody at Harper Woods out there on the east side. Graduation was a joint project for one special family here in Detroit. A mother and daughter got their diplomas together.
Don't drink and drive. Make your prom the best night of your life.
Bless you, boys. Do it again.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dwayne X. Riley in for Dan Mountney this morning. We'll be joining Connie Chung with Sunrise in a moment. Here are some of the stories that we're following for our 6:30 newscast coming up. Severe thunder and lightning storms this morning with heavy rain, some flooding, some trees down. The worst apparently is over now. Last day for Stroh's beer making today in Detroit. After 71 years, the brewery is closing down. We'll have a live interview on the situation. More on that tragic riot at the soccer game in Brussels where 38 people were killed. Detroit police investigating a shooting on the northwest side of Detroit in which bystanders were hit by gunfire. The Soviets launch a heavy offensive against resistance fighters in Afghanistan. Sources say an even heavier force getting ready to seal off the Pakistani border. And the Israeli Prime Minister rejects a call for an international peace conference, saying that it's nothing more than a device to evade direct negotiations with Israel. We'll be back in a moment with the weather.
The Tigers broke all kinds of records last year, and you can bet that they're going to do it again. But there'll be one record they won't want to break, and you won't want them to either. It's the new edition of Curtis Gatson's new hit single, Bless You Boys. With the flip side, Take Me Out. 50 cents from each record sale will be donated to the Tri-County Easter Seal Society. So, catch the new hit single, Bless You Boys, available at your local record stores.
Hello, I'm Carmen Harlan, and this is my daughter, Jessica. Because of my work with News Force Child Search, I know too well the anguish of parents whose children are missing. But now there's something we can all do to protect our little ones.
You can get a child ID card free and have some fun, too. Saturday and Sunday, June 1st and 2nd at the Detroit Zoo. WDIV, Pepsi, and Farmer Jack invite you to the zoo to have your children photographed and receive this child ID card free.
I'll do it for Jessica. Do it for someone you love.
Now here's Vicki Griffin and Weather Watch.
Good morning, Dwayne. It was a rude awakening for a lot of folks this morning. There were some vivid lightning displays, some loud thunder, and a lot of heavy rains. You can see why on the satellite picture behind me. It's a frontal system. It's kind of occluded as you head out to the west. That's not good. That means warm air and cold air are really crashing it out. Anyway, the result for us are some heavy thunderstorms. In fact, there is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. A watch just means the conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms to develop. And I think the worst is over. I wish we could look at radar, but we can't. Anyway, you'd see that the storms are pretty much to the southeast of us now. That doesn't mean they couldn't redevelop later on, though. Our forecast for today, cloudy, breezy, and warm today with scattered showers and thunderstorms continuing off and on throughout the day. Our highs will be in the low 80s. Dwayne?
More details at 6:30. Now to NBC.
Good morning. It's Friday, the 31st of May, and as this day begins, more arrests are expected in the father-son spy case. Your telephone bill is going up, and President Reagan is on the road again selling tax reform. In sports, the Oilers take the Stanley Cup. Don Gould has all the details. Joe Whitty has the weekend weather outlook and a look at what we can expect in the month ahead. I'm John Dancy, and this is NBC News at Sunrise. Look for more arrests in the Navy's father-son spy case. Law enforcement officials say several employees of John Walker's detective agency will be charged in the case. And the Washington Post reports today that a retired Navy enlisted person unrelated to the Walker family may have helped in the espionage. Meanwhile, Arthur Walker was held without bond. He's a brother of John Walker and an uncle of Seaman Michael Walker. At the Pentagon, officials are worried about the secrets the family spy ring may have stolen.
I think it's fair to say a serious loss, and gone on a very long time. And we are certainly reviewing all of the procedures involved to ensure that we try to minimize that kind of thing happening in the future.
The Navy is now trying to determine just how much the spy team damaged security. 7 people have been indicted in the investigation of drug use in the major leagues. The 7 include the former caterer of the Philadelphia Phillies. But NBC News correspondent James Polk says no players are expected to face arrest.
The grand jury has heard testimony that drug sales were arranged inside the clubhouse of the Pittsburgh Pirates by another suspect, identified as a friend of outfielder Dave Parker, who is now with the Cincinnati Reds. Parker was among those called before the grand jury.
Anything I have to say about that has been said to the proper authorities.
9 National League teams had players like Keith Hernandez of the New York Mets who were brought before the grand jury and given immunity from prosecution to testify in the drug case. Among them, Montreal's all-star outfielder Tim Raines, who recovered from cocaine abuse and now talks openly about the big league temptation of drugs.
A lot of people feel that when you go to parties that you are a guy that likes to do things, do drugs.
Raines said he didn't have to go far to get drugs.
When I was using back in '81, I pretty much went through the players.
Sources say there will be no baseball players charged with the drug case. James Polk, NBC News, Pittsburgh.
The details are not clear, but the outcome is fairly certain. Britain is going to pay a heavy price for the soccer riot in Brussels Wednesday. British fans started the fighting that left 38 people dead and hundreds wounded. And British teams may be banned from all European competition. A decision to keep them out of Belgium could come this morning. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher has pledged more than $300,000 to a relief fund for families of Italian riot victims. It took 6 excruciating hours Wednesday for rescuers to pull a woman from under a toppled crane in New York City. 3 other cranes were brought in to clear the wreckage before rescue workers with torches managed to cut the woman free. She underwent microsurgery last night, and doctors think they have saved her legs. The crane operator, who was working without a license, was jailed on assault charges. Your telephone bill is going up again tomorrow, $1 a month more for basic service. It's part of the government's plan to have households and small businesses pick up more of the tab for the new deregulated phone system. Officials say current home phone bills do not reflect the full cost of local service. The president pulled a page from his 1980 race campaigning against Washington as he pitched tax reform yesterday in Virginia and Wisconsin. And he'll be back at it again today, asking taxpayers in Pennsylvania to press Congress for action now. Steve Porter is traveling with the president.
The president took his election-style tax plan campaign on the road first to colonial Williamsburg, Virginia, where many of America's first revolution plans were laid. There, he called for a second American Revolution.
Our federal tax system is, in short, utterly impossible, utterly unjust, and completely counterproductive. It's earned a rebellion, and it's time we rebelled.
Then, just as in last fall's re-election campaign, there was a quick flight to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where there were more crowds, bands, signs, and instead of pro-Mondale demonstrators, anti-nuclear protesters, some of them partially naked, and their chants were heard by the president.
Now, I want you to know that I've got a little holdout. There's a little group over there. I'm going to raise their taxes.
And, just like last fall, there were the Reagan questions to the crowd.
Do the people of Oshkosh want our tax system to be complicated and unfair? Or do you want steeply rising tax brackets that punish achievement and hurt the American family?
Next, Pennsylvania. And next week, 3 more cities in the South. Steve Porter, NBC News, Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Sources in Geneva say a Reagan-Gorbachev summit may be the only way to move the arms talks off dead center. There were smiles and handshakes when U.S. and Soviet delegates got together Thursday to resume negotiations, but once at the table, they found the talks the way they left them in April, stalled over Soviet objections to Star Wars and U.S. objections to a missile freeze in Europe. Some naval careers may be going up in smoke as a result of the Pentagon's ashtray scandal. 3 officers, including an admiral, have been relieved of duty after a supply depot under their command bought 7 ashtrays at $660 apiece. Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger says discharge or transfer will become the standard penalty for military personnel involved in cases of fraud or overpayment. Coming up, the Edmonton Oilers have their second Stanley Cup, and Don Gould has all the details. Next, stay with us.
Another great recipe comes to life. It's one of the Minute Rice Light Cuisine recipes.
You're working up an appetite for something great, something light. It's Minute Rice Light Cuisine.
Delightfully light garden chicken salad.
Just 350 calories in 20 minutes. Made with ease.
With crisp garden vegetables, chicken, and minute rice.
A garden chicken salad recipe to suit your taste delightfully. Minute Rice fits the way you want to cook today.
Put a little muscle into that, trainee.
But this is Hanes' boys' underwear, Inspector 12. I thought I should be gentle.
Gentle? Did you ever see a boy wrestle? Did you ever see a boy slide into second base? Why, boys are worse than men when it comes to...
Every Hanes T-shirt and brief has to pass 11 quality tests and Inspector 12.
They don't say Hanes until I say they say Hanes.
Now buy any Hanes 3-pack. Get $2 back by mail.
Simple chronic halitosis, a very real condition.
I've tried everything. Minced, gum, I rinse, I brush, but my bad breath keeps coming back.
Simple chronic halitosis, our name for recurring breath odor not due to illness. Livoris fights that bad breath. Livoris with 3 cleansing stages, freshens instantly, contains zinc chloride to neutralize bad breath vapors and protect breath for hours. Livoris.
You're like a breath of fresh air.
Livoris fights even simple chronic halitosis.
Ah, spring. Green grass, shady trees, and lawn supplies from True Value hardware stores. Trim fast where the mower can't reach with distant cordless electric grass shears. And cut back high branches with this green thumb telescoping tree pruner. Protect against weeds and insects with a Servest 3-gallon sprayer. And for precise watering, get the Melner Time-O-Matic pulsating sprinkler with automatic shutoff from participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
The state of the air goes on display today in Paris. Representatives of 34 nations are there to show off the latest flying technology. The Paris Air Show is the biggest of its kind. Some of the featured performers will be the huge Soviet Antonov 124 transport plane and the new British reusable space shuttle. Well, the Edmonton Oilers hit a gusher of points last night in Stanley Cup play. Here's Don. Morning.
John, the Philadelphia Flyers were in the wrong town at the right time, playing for the Stanley Cup, but having to face the Edmonton Oilers. And for the 16th straight time at home, the Oilers won a playoff game. This one was an 8-3 rout, and this one gave them their second consecutive Stanley Cup. The nicest goal of the game came from 3 Oilers stars of the playoffs. Late in the second period, Paul Coffey skated behind his net, fed it to Yari Curry, who put it on Wayne Gretzky's stick. He's on the right side of your screen. Bingo, 7-1. Gretzky won the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player in the final series. Great one, finished with a record 47 points in all playoff games. Coffey set a record for defensemen with 12 goals, 2 of them getting past Bob Froese last night. And Curry scored the opener to give him 19 goals and tie for the all-time playoff mark with Rick McLeish. Both Edmonton Cups have been won in front of the hometown fans who went wild last year, but may be getting used to it by now. Now, if the Celtics are going to win the second title, a second straight year, they'll be doing it in front of their hometown supporters. The Los Angeles Lakers made sure of that by defeating Boston 109-102 last night to even the series at 1-1. The sky hook was working for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was an invisible 7-2 spectator in the Celtics rout of the Lakers in Game 1. Kareem had 30 points and 17 rebounds. Michael Cooper, 22 points. They took up the slack from poor shooting from their teammates. Larry Bird paced the Celtics with 30. And by the way, Scott Wedman, who was 11 for 11 in that 34-point Celtic victory in Game 1, was 2 for 5 last night. Games 3, 4, and 5 shift to Englewood starting Sunday. He may not get the rest of us as excited as Bo Derek, but Andy Hawkins is a perfect 10 to Padre fans. The San Diego pitcher made his record 10-0 last night and beating Montreal 5-4. He needed relief help, but got all the support he needed batting-wise from Carmelo Martinez, who hit 2 homers and accounted for all 5 San Diego runs. Elsewhere, Dwight Gooden struck out 14 Giants as the Mets edged San Francisco 2-1. Joaquin Andahar and Bill Campbell combined at a 5-hit shutout as St. Louis whipped Atlanta 6-0. And John Denny beat Los Angeles for the first time in 7 years, 6-1 for Philadelphia. Carlton Fisk, who hit 2 homers on Wednesday night, hit another, this one onto the roof of Comiskey Park in Chicago's 4-3 victory over Kansas City, Tom Seaver's 293rd career win. Meanwhile, Ron Davis lost another, hit 2 batters in the 11th. Boston sent Minnesota reeling with their 8th straight loss, 8-7. Detroit stopped Oakland 3-2. New York prevented California from going back into first place in the West with a 3-1 triumph over the Angels. Baltimore dusted off Seattle 8-2. USFL last night, Denver beat Los Angeles 27-20, and French Open on NBC this weekend. That's sports.
Okay, thanks, Don. Coming up, Joe Woody with a look at the long-range forecast for June. That's next on NBC News at sunrise.
This is Nu Skin, the liquid bandage, and I'm going to show you why it can be better than adhesive bandages. Nu Skin is a clear antiseptic liquid that dries to form a flexible, waterproof protective covering. Look, dirt can get under adhesive bandage pads, but Nu Skin helps keep dirt and germs out, yet lets the skin breathe. So when you've got to work with a minor cut or scrape, use Nu Skin, the liquid bandage.
When you get to work, turn on FM 104, WOMC. You'll work faster because WOMC's Super Turn On Hour at 9 is calculated to get your day rolling with specially selected music. At 1, rev up your afternoon with 104's second Super Turn On Hour for music that'll keep you on your toes. A full day of great music that's almost non-stop on FM 104, WOMC. It works.
Well, the month of June is just over the hill, and with it, all that hot weather you were wishing for back in January, Joe.
That's for sure, John. The heat wave is on in Texas. Good morning, everyone. It is hot and has been in Texas for the past 5 days over the western part of the state. They have had temperatures over 100 since Memorial Day. Now, it looks like the beginning of a long hot spell for the Longhorn State. The 30-day outlook for the month of June indicates a 60% chance that Texas will stay warmer than normal, and that means highs in the 100s. The Northwest and the Northeast are likely to average cooler than normal. The rest of the country, probably pretty much close to average. The satellite photograph shows those thunderstorms that moved over the northern plains yesterday have now advanced over the Great Lakes. Keep a weather eye from the Great Lakes to the East Coast. There is a moderate to slight risk of some heavy thunderstorms in that section southward down towards Arkansas. In the west, not bad, with just a few scattered showers all the way from Washington down through Arizona and parts of New Mexico. It will be hot in Texas again today, 104 in Dallas, Detroit, 86, and the cool 60s over the northern sections of Minnesota and Wisconsin. That's the national weather. Now, here's what's happening in your neighborhood. Omaha, Nebraska, sunny and hot at 90. Macon, Georgia, hot and sunny also at 95. Portland, Oregon, 65, chance of showers. Coming up next, the sun and swim forecast for the first weekend of June. John?
Okay, thanks, Joe. When we return, the story of some stiff sentences in that abortion clinic bombing in Florida. Stay with us.
I'm Jane Pauley. This morning on Today, how the president's tax plan affects you.
I'm John Palmer. In our second hour, we'll meet the new Gidget.
That's this morning on Today.
The continuing adventures of Mel Farr Superstar, fighting high prices to bring you a far better deal.
Yes, here at Mel Farr Ford, we make the unaffordable affordable with our low monthly lease plan. With $1,000 cash, you can take home this 85.5 Escort for only $97 per month, or this 85 Tempo for only $119 per month. But you just cannot match my low prices, offer service to midnight, and they cannot fly either.
Greenfield and 10 Mile.
Don't drink and drive. Make your prom the best night of your life.
Soviet forces have launched a major offensive in Afghanistan this week aimed at cutting off the main rebel supply routes. Resistance has been fierce, but as Jim Bitterman reports on Another Look, Soviet dominance in Afghanistan is more than just military.
In the streets of Kabul, the Afghanistan army practiced for the anniversary of this nation's communist revolution. It's been 7 years since the old regime was overthrown here, 7 years that saw coups, invasion, and guerrilla war. And now, after a rare opportunity to see Afghanistan from the official point of view, a recent visitor believes the country is entering a new phase, one of permanent occupation, perhaps even colonization by the Soviet Union.
It's a non-declared colonization.
French journalist Danielle Catalan recently spent 3 weeks in Afghanistan, one of the few Western reporters permitted to travel about the war-torn country since the Soviets invaded it.
They are everywhere, and they work for the long term. I'm sure that they don't care of the war. They work for the long term.
The Afghanistan Catalan saw was one increasingly directly run by the Soviets. It's not just the Soviet military, constantly seen in the streets of the major cities, but Soviet civilians as well. In one section of the capital, special and permanent housing has been built for the perhaps thousands of civilians sent by Moscow to protect its interests. Interests like Afghanistan's natural resources. In the north, for instance, the Soviets are developing and using the natural gas deposits of this backward nation to their advantage. And one can see, as journalist Catalan did, how important installations like this one are well protected against attack by Afghan rebels. Around factories, towns, and schools, rings of Afghan and many times Soviet defenses have been put into place. Local militias, not always impressively trained, stand guard against what militiaman Mohammed Farid could only describe as wild counter-revolutionary bandits, although he'd never seen one, supplied, he said, by America and Pakistan. While protecting what they consider vital, the Soviets and their Afghan administrators did not seem, to the French journalists, overly concerned about the rebel hold on the open countryside. An Afghan general would not even confirm the number of men in the army. While he acknowledged that Mujahideen rebels have done much damage, he insisted the government was winning the war. But even if he is wrong, the Afghan communists and their Soviet backers increasingly have the upper hand in a battle perhaps as important as the military one. The battle for the next generation of Afghans. Catalan saw children from nursery school to high school being taught Moscow's ideologies. Officials told him that hundreds of orphans are being sent to the Soviet Union for their entire education.
They will come back from USSR when they are 18, and they will be Russian-minded when they come back. And that's the way they work in Afghanistan.
Afghan officials permitted reporter Catalan to interview a captured rebel fighter who renounced his past and praised the government. He had been brainwashed, the French reporter said. It was awful. We knew he had been a lieutenant to one of the most important rebel leaders. Unquestionably, the Afghan rebels have inflicted much damage to the regime and its backers. Catalan saw one cemetery with the graves of 4,000 Afghan soldiers killed in the years of fighting. But today in Kabul, the lines of authority, like the big Russian communications antennas, point north toward Moscow. And despite their losses, the Soviets, for the moment, seem to be having their way in Afghanistan. Jim Bitterman, NBC News, Paris.
We'll be back with more news in just a moment, and Joe Whitty will have a look at the weekend weather. Our top stories this morning: more spy arrests, baseball drug indictments, and abortion bombers sentenced. Now the details. Law enforcement officials are expected to arrest more people in connection with that spy ring accused of selling Navy secrets to the Soviets. So far, 3 men have been arrested, all members of the same family. Retired Navy officer Arthur Walker was led into court Thursday, just as his brother John and nephew Michael had been earlier in the week. According to the New York Times, about 4 more people, all employees of John Walker's Norfolk, Virginia private detective agency, will be arrested next week on similar charges. 7 people indicted by a federal grand jury for alleged drug sales to Major League Baseball players are being formally charged today. At least 11 players from 9 of the big league clubs testified during the 6-month grand jury investigation. All of them were granted immunity, and no players are likely to be among those charged. In Pensacola, Florida, 2 men convicted of bombing 3 abortion clinics on Christmas Day were sentenced Thursday. A federal judge gave both men 10-year prison sentences and ordered them to pay $350,000 each in restitution. 2 women were placed on 5 years probation. The United Airlines pilot strike is getting more heated and more angry. The pilots are not budging, and in an effort to show their solidarity, a rally was staged in Chicago last night to bring strikers from across the country together. Rich Samuels of WMAQ-TV reports.
Welcome to the third in a series of United Pilot Strike Committee teleconferences.
The rally was beamed by satellite to strikers in 9 other cities where United has major installations. Flight attendants, other United personnel, and pilots from other airlines joined the 5,200 United pilots who set up picket lines May 17th. It was a massively staged event, and the object of anger was United's chief executive officer.
Mr. Ferris wants to break the Airline Pilots Association on this property and drive it from existence.
That's the pilot's contention. United Airlines Chief Richard Ferris earlier this week said the airline would restore pre-strike levels of operation without the striking pilots if necessary. Only an estimated 14% of United's flights are currently operating. The striking pilots claim the carrier has not been successful in hiring and training new pilots.
We're going to turn it around and take it to Chicago and take our airline back. See ya.
The pilots and United broke off talks Saturday after they were reportedly on the verge of a settlement. No new talks have been scheduled. From Chicago, this is Rich Samuels for NBC News.
In New York, an assistant U.S. attorney has been arrested on charges of stealing almost $500,000 worth of drugs from an office safe. 29-year-old Daniel Perlmutter was taken into custody Thursday along with his 22-year-old girlfriend. Perlmutter allegedly took the drugs from a safe, storing evidence for upcoming trials. A public interest legal group has filed a class action suit against one of the nation's biggest long-distance telephone companies. GTE Sprint is accused of overcharging its customers millions of dollars on calls they made last Thanksgiving and Christmas days. The suit alleges that Sprint charged regular daytime rates instead of the lower evening rates that it advertised. The difference could amount to as much as $4 million. Investors on Wall Street gobbled up food stocks Thursday, but seemed to have little appetite for anything else. The Dow Jones Industrials were up almost 3 points to close at 1305.78 in active trading. The Standard & Poor's 500 stock index rose 0.07 to 187.75. The price of gold at 9 a.m. in London was $312.75 an ounce. That's 45 cents below yesterday's close in New York. Coming up, 3 protesters give President Reagan the bare facts on nuclear disarmament. That story and Joe Woody's weekend forecast next.
John Houseman for the investment firm of Smith Barney.
Whatever happened to that old-fashioned American work ethic? Some people still have it. The investment firm of Smith Barney has it. They know how much digging it takes to uncover one good stock, one good bond, and that's why they're among a handful of top investment firms singled out for their work in research. Smith Barney. They make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it.
The #1 hit.
How fast can Ambisol relieve toothache pain before you can say
Ambisol?
One moment, please.
How fast can Ambisol relieve canker sore pain before you can say
Ambisol?
When your mouth hurts, Ambisol's pain-killing ingredients relieve minor mouth pain on contact, and Ambisol keeps on relieving pain. How fast can Ambisol relieve teething pain before you can say
Ambisol?
Ambisol, liquid or gel, relieves minor mouth pain before you can say Ambisol.
I don't want some wimpy-tasting cereal.
If you want bushels of taste, Fruitful Brand. I don't want some itty-bitty taste. Peaches, raisins, apples, dates.
Fruitful Brand. Did you say peaches?
Bushels of flavor swimming in the flakes. Fruitful Brand has bushels of taste.
High fiber Kellogg's Fruitful Brand. Now with even more fruit, because we added
peaches.
Bushels and bushels and bushels of taste in Kellogg's Fruitful Brand.
Now with peaches.
President Reagan won general support for his tax reform plan during his appearance in Oshkosh, Wisconsin yesterday, but there were about 50 demonstrators who heckled him. 3 of them were young women who stripped off their blouses and sat bare-breasted on the shoulders of companions, waving signs which read, "Reagan must face the naked truth," and "Our emperor has no clothes." Later, the president was asked about the topless protesters. He said, "I didn't see them." Then he paused, grinned, and said, "I think I'm going to go back." He didn't. Let's check the weekend again. Here's Joe.
Thank you, John. The visitors to Glacier National Park in Montana had a bit of surprise yesterday. There were about 2 to 3 inches of snow on the higher mountain passes, and over the weekend it will be a little cloudy and cool for the campers in that part of the state. Meanwhile, for the eastern half of the country, if you've got your boat ready and ready to head for the water like I am, look for a mixture of sun and clouds, a beautiful Sunday. Water temperature at Jones Beach, still a little cool though at 61 degrees. Southward, Cape Hatteras and Miami. Miami, a warm 82 degrees. Out to the west, sunshine over the southwest. San Diego, a water temperature of 64 degrees, and still somewhat cool, as usual, off the coast of Washington and Oregon. Water temperature there only 51 degrees. The outlook for today, the place you really want to keep a weather eye is over the Great Lakes to New York and New Jersey and down over parts of the Tennessee River Valley. A slight to moderate risk of some heavy thunderstorms, especially later on today. Out to the west, relatively generally good conditions with hot conditions still existing over Texas. Summertime is really starting to burn on over Texas. For Sunday and Saturday, it looks like this. Saturday, thunderstorms in the morning along the eastern seaboard, showers, scattered showers over the northwest, and by Sunday, the showers move towards the Great Lakes, thunderstorms over the lower Mississippi River Valley, and the East Coast clears out for a beautiful weekend. Have a good one. John?
Okay, Joe. The Today Show is up shortly. Let's get a preview now from Jane Pauling. Morning, Jane.
Good morning, and thank you, John. This morning, we'll go live to Tel Aviv, where U.S. Ambassador Samuel Lewis is on his last day on the job after 8 years. We'll talk to him about the new Jordanian PLO peace plan. We'll also look at President Reagan's road trip to sell his tax reform plan. We'll get into the debate over what kind of parents homosexuals and lesbians make and whether they should be allowed to adopt children. And we'll talk to actress Glenn Close, actor Jose Ferrer, opera star Simon Estes, and meet a whole gang of Gidgets. That and more ahead them today this morning, John.
Okay, Jane, that's our news. Jane and John Palmer will have more coming up on Today. We'll see you again tomorrow morning, or Monday morning, rather. I'm John Dancy. Thanks for joining us here on NBC News at sunrise.
I'm Bob Jameson. Here comes the class of '85, last of the baby boomers. With more graduates than jobs, who's going to be employed? Tonight on NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dwayne X. Riley in for Dan Mountney. Join Vicki Griffin and me for the latest news, weather, and sports next on News 4 Today.
Spartan stores everywhere shop together before you do, and they go shopping with tremendous buying power.
This week, you save on Holly Farm's Pick of the Chicks. They're the best parts of the chicken. And the best part of all, they're only 78 cents a pound. That's just the beginning of a great backyard barbecue, because your Spartan stores have hot off the coals garlic bread. Just 98 cents for the 1 pound loaf.
Spartan stores, buying together in truckloads so you can save by the cartful. Where you see this sign, you'll find Spartan Buy Power Savings.
Teenagers gain experience, make contacts, and explore their future in just one summer as an American Red Cross youth volunteer. Call Red Cross.
Everybody out there, I hope you're ready. Watch us go for it again on that good old WDIV Channel 4, the hottest thing in Detroit.
The Tigers come up against the Angels Saturday at 12:30. News 4 Today with Dan Mountney, Vicki Griffin in Weather Watch, and the News 4 team.
Good morning, everyone. Dwayne X. Riley in for Dan Mountney. Another hairy adventure coming into work this morning. I hit the freeways at the height of the thunder and lightning storms. The rain came down in torrents with a 4th of July type lightning display, constantly flashing, making visibility practically zero. I felt I was in an interstellar psychedelic demonstration out there. And the rain was so heavy, it was the first time I've ever plowed water with the car going uphill.
You know, it seems like the worst parts were under the overpasses. In the right and the far left lanes, that's where the water seems to like to pull up. Did you see the green lightning?
Green lightning.
That indicates that
I was trying
there
to
is...
avoid the lightning.
Green lightning indicates that there is hail in those thunderstorms.
Oh.
Something interesting maybe you didn't know. The worst is over, though, except for the puddling on the roads, Dwayne. Cloudy right now at 64 degrees at Metro. City Airport's reporting in at 65. A relative humidity at 90%. Winds are currently coming in from the east at 5 miles per hour. Here's our satellite picture, and here's the culprit for this morning's thunderstorms. This started rumbling through around about 3:45 this morning. You can see the stationary front. It's lodged all the way from around the thumb of Michigan right on back into northern sections of Illinois. A warm front showing up. Actually, it's occluded just to the west of us, and that's kind of what's triggering off some of these heavy thunderstorms. There were thunderstorms spread all the way from western Pennsylvania right on up into northern Minnesota, and then it just tapers off to a few showers. Let's check out our local radar and find out where those thunderstorms that rambled through this morning are. They're really nowhere to be seen. Southern Ontario and especially around the eastern edge of Lake St. Clair, that's where the rain is now, or the heavier thunderstorms. Scattered showers still showing up in Oakland and northern Macomb County and then counties northward from that. The metro area basically for the most part cloudy. Still some showers are being reported off and on. Movement of all the rain that you're seeing is to the east now, 35 miles per hour. It's slowed somewhat in the past hour. Here's our forecast. We are under a severe thunderstorm watch, and a watch just means the conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms to develop, but it looks as if the worst is past now. Cloudy, breezy, and warm later on today. Showers and some more thunderstorms developing. That's likely. High between 81 and 84 this afternoon with southwesterly winds gusty, 15 to 25 miles per hour. Dwayne?
Okay, thank you, Vicki. Well, with all of that heavy rain, morning commuters may face some water on the freeways this morning. Hugh Carlson's at Metro Traffic with the latest. Hugh, how are we doing?
Not too good at all, Dwayne. Moving across your screen now, the red areas from right to left. East and westbound 94 is still completely closed to traffic between 8 and 9 Mile Road. This is high water, flooding, taking a long time for the water to go down in that location. North and southbound on the Lodge Freeway between I-94 and 7 Mile seems to be the worst of it. 2 feet at the Davison, as a matter of fact, has the north and southbound lodge completely shut. 6 inches of water on the southbound 75 ramp to the westbound Davison has at least one driver trapped. Now, on southbound Telegraph Road after 12 Mile, a serious injury accident and at least 2 stallouts on that location. So, police have had to shut down southbound Telegraph after 12 Mile. Westbound 94 between Schaefer and Greenfield, construction barrels by the high wind blown right out onto traffic lanes of the freeway, so drivers there have to dodge these barrels. Wow. That's a look at the traffic situation at 6:33. Hugh Carlson, News 4. Back to you, Dwayne.
It was scary this morning out there. Detroit Edison tells us there are some power outages throughout the area this morning. Many surface streets are flooded because of the rain, of course, but fortunately we have no reports of any fires caused by the lightning overnight. Well, the Stroh Brewery ends its beer making in Detroit today. After 71 years, the last keg of beer was filled yesterday. The brewery closes today, ending a 115-year tradition. Stroh's headquarters will remain here with 750 employees. Back in February, Stroh announced that the Gratiot plant was too old to help the company grow. The company is looking for a buyer for the 1 million square feet of property at the Detroit landmark. In Pittsburgh, a federal grand jury investigating drug sales to professional baseball players returned sealed indictments yesterday, counting more than 100 narcotics charges against 7 people. 6 of those persons named in the indictments are believed to live in Pittsburgh. 1 resides in Philadelphia, according to a report in the Pittsburgh Gazette. There is no word from the Justice Department as yet on whether any baseball players have been named in the indictments. Detroit police investigating a shooting on the northwest side last night, believed to have started during a dispute among some young people. But the shooting wasn't confined to those involved. Bystanders were hit by the gunfire. We talked to police at the scene and one of the bystanders who was hit by one of the bullets.
The one kid's mother accused some of these fellas that were victims that they jumped on the shooter and beat him up earlier.
Drug-related?
No, just neighborhood argument.
Detroit police say this morning that there have been no arrests made as yet. The investigation continues. More today on the riot that killed 38 people at that soccer game in Brussels. The English were singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," Liverpool's theme, when they charged the Italians who were reading newspapers in the sun at the time. About 50 Liverpool fans came in the first charge, and then about 150. The Italian fans, cornered in the arena finally, panicked, pushing, clawing, and trampling. 38 died, 375 injured. Officials are considering a year's ban on soccer games in Europe. In New York City, a woman who was trapped under a construction crane that fell on her underwent 4 hours of surgery. She's listed in stable condition this morning, but a hospital spokesman says Bridget Gurney, 49 years old, may lose her legs. She was walking by the construction site when the crane collapsed. 3 men have been arrested in that $8 million robbery of Wells Fargo last month. One of the suspects was seen by a witness using a sledgehammer to smash in the back door of the van that the thieves used to escape with the money. 2 other suspects were seen by witnesses acting as lookouts. None of the money has been recovered. Detroit area leaders discussing proposals to disband SEMTA and create new transit authorities for the city and for suburban counties. Officials were meeting on Mackinac Island and said they would meet today with other leaders in the state, including the governor. Mayor Young refused to give details of those talks, but said, we're not trying to be cute. We want to be sure that we're wrapping it up before we release pieces of it. Still ahead on our Friday edition of News 4 Today, the race for the Stanley Cup is over, but the race for the NBA championship heats up, plus the Tigers score and a check of our date book.
And I'll let you know if we're going to have any more thunderstorms like the kind we had just an hour ago. Stay with us.
Sir, I'd like to request a transfer to another office.
Why?
Because one of the men I supervise, Mr. Shirley,
Yes?
he keeps trying to sneak out to Hudson's warehouse sale.
How does he do that?
Oh, he comes up with lame excuses.
Like?
Like he's been selected to fly the space shuttle.
Oh, that's quite an honor.
But it's a trick, sir. He's trying to sneak off to Hudson's warehouse sale.
Ah, well, Hudson's warehouse sale is fantastic. They have savings on furniture, carpeting, TVs.
What? That's not the point, sir. This office is like a well-oiled machine. If one cog is out of place...
Absolutely correct. So, transfer denied.
But, sir...
You're the only cog that can see through the dumb excuses of the other cogs.
Well, would you at least speak to Mr. Shirley about Hudson's warehouse sale?
Well, I would, but I'm off right now to the graduation of my daughter.
What daughter?
Dog, from obedience school.
Sir, are you going to Hudson's warehouse sale?
No, I've been asked to fly the space shuttle. Oh, Shirley, use that one. The Lions need it.
Save 20 to 50%. Friday, 8 to 8, and Saturday, 8 to 5 at Hudson's Downtown Warehouse, across from the Music Hall.
Bonnet Pontiac Nissan makes it as easy as ABC to buy a used car. A Selection, one of the finest selections in the Metro Detroit area. B Service, before and after the sale, we take care of our customers' needs. And C Price. Here's an example, an 82 Trans Am, just $199 a month. For the family man, this 84 Pontiac 6000 as low as $69.95. And this transportation special, a 78 Plymouth Horizon as low as $12.95. Bonnet Pontiac Nissan on Michigan Avenue between Greenfield and Schaefer, Dearborn.
Target grand opening. The building team hurries to meet the deadline. All major carpet mills participate with big opening specials. The store is open, the sale is on. The carpets are low priced. Padding's free, and you get 6 months credit free. Philadelphia Plush, $588. Salem High-Low, $493. Horizon Sculpture, $488. Thousands of rolls, grand opening priced, and padding's free with any carpet. Our biggest, lowest price grand opening sale is happening now at all our stores. But it ends this Saturday, so hurry to New York Carpet World.
Good morning, everyone. At 6:39, it's 64 degrees. May 31st, Friday. And we're watching these stories in Friday's date book. Round 2 of talks between the U.S. and Soviets continue in Geneva today. Canadian government officials begin testing water on the Great Lakes. Another candidate announced that he's running for mayor. The man suspected in the beating death at the Northville Psychiatric Hospital expected to be arraigned today. There'll be a flower show at the Wyandotte Flower Market. A contest between 9 suburban computer clubs kicks off today at the Westin Hotel. And kids from the Waterford School go Hawaiian at a luau with kids from Bloomfield Hills. We'll have more on these stories on News 4 at 5 and 6 o'clock. Now, Vicki Griffin's back with the forecast and how long we're going to be waiting in water.
Probably off and on throughout the day. The system is still just to our west, so that means that the possibility of more thunderstorms developing is pretty good. off and on throughout the day. Right now, though, it's cloudy. It's calmed down considerably at Metro Airport. We're at 64 degrees. Our relative humidity quite high at 90%. Our barometer right now is falling, and that's a sign of storms on the way, 29.52 inches, and our winds are coming from the east now at 5. Normal highs and lows for this time of the year and for this day, 75 and 52. Sunset tonight at 9:01. Record high set at 1895, rather, was 95 degrees. 34 set in 1910 was our record low. This is the satellite picture that shows the frontal system occluded here, and then it becomes cold as it wraps on through the central plains, and then stationary, stalled over central sections of Michigan that triggered off our thunderstorms this morning. Because it's in the neighborhood, because it's slow moving, the potential for off and on thunderstorms throughout the morning hours, the afternoon, and into the evening are pretty good with us today. Let's look at the local radar and see where all those thunderstorms have headed. Remember, just about an hour ago, they had just covered the metro area. Well, now you can see that Oakland County, central Oakland County, is still getting a little bit of that light rain. Northern Macomb County, and then north of Lake St. Clair and over into Ontario. Showers continue to move in an easterly direction at about 35 miles per hour. Thunderstorms, for the most part, have dissipated. However, there are some heavy bands of a few thunder showers embedded in the rain pattern that you can see to the east. Let's check out and see what's going to be on this afternoon. I told you that frontal system was going to be slow to move, and you can see two patches of rain potential around us, one showing up through the eastern Ohio Valley and in toward Pennsylvania, another to our northwest. We're right in between those two rain systems, so basically we're going to be in the middle for some potential thunderstorms later on today. For this morning, there is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. Remember, a watch just means that the conditions are favorable for thunderstorms to develop, and I think the worst is over. Later on today, cloudy, breezy, and warm. Showers and thunderstorms continuing to develop off and on 81 to 84, and cloudy with showers and thunder showers again tonight with a low in the mid-60s between 53 and 56 degrees. But I think, in a way, it's kind of good to get it out of the way on a Friday because our weekend is looking good.
Get it all out of the way
That's
and
right.
clear the way for
On
the
Friday.
big weekend.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Vicki. In sports, the Edmonton Oilers still rule the NHL this morning after wrapping up the Stanley Cup with an 8-3 win over the Philadelphia Flyers last night. Playoff MVP Wayne Gretzky scored 1 goal and assisted on 3 others, giving him a Stanley Cup record of 47 total points. Gretzky also scored a total 17 goals in the playoffs. In action in the NBA last night, the Los Angeles Lakers tied their series with the Boston Celtics with a 109-102 win over Boston at the Garden. Kareem Abdul used his patented skyhook to score 30 points to lead the Lakers. The series is now tied at 1 game apiece. Larry Bird topped Boston with 30 points. Game 3 is on Sunday in Los Angeles. Well, at the ballpark yesterday, the Tigers snapped their losing streak, scoring a 3-2 win over the Oakland A's. Larry Herndon provided the game winner for Detroit, hitting a solo blast in the 6th inning. Kirk Gibson suffered a 17-stitch gash to his lips after he was hit by a pitch from rookie Tim Bertus. Walt Terrell picked up the 6th win of the year. The Tigers open a 3-game weekend series with the California Angels. Game time is 7:30. Well, if you're a die-hard Chicago Cubs fan, be prepared to watch the Cubbies play at night if they make it to the World Series. Baseball Commissioner Peter Uberoff announced yesterday that all of this year's World Series games will be played at night. Lots of other action in the world of sports. Eli Zaret has the highlights in our Friday sports brief.
Commissioner Peter Uberoff says all National League World Series games will be played at night this year, and that, should the Cubs make it, they'll have to play in a different ballpark. Unless the Cubs win their court battle to allow nightfall at Wrigley, they'll be out of luck come series time. Martina Navratilova says she was beating Frenchwoman Catherine Tanvay so badly that she considered throwing a game for compassion's sake. Then she said to herself, nah, and routed her 6-love to advance to round 4 in the French Open. The verdict is in. Spartan guard Scott Skiles, slapped on the wrist, will have to serve only Friday night and Saturday morning in jail for a well-publicized court case involving drug possession. And longtime Tiger relief ace Aridia Lopez says that he and general manager Bill LaJoy are very close to a lifetime agreement that would enable Senior Smoke to finish his career as a Detroit Tiger.
And coming up in the second half of News 4 today, we'll bring you up to date on the weather. We'll have the morning business and traffic reports, plus update the morning headlines.
And I'll check our list of events in our community calendar for this weekend. Stay with us.
So how did you like the new Chrysler LeBaron GTS?
Wow, it was great.
Dwayne, we can't afford it.
You like its roomy hatchback?
We can't afford it.
Front-wheel drive, 550 protection plan.
Dwayne.
And with 8.8 annual percentage rate financing, your payments could be as low as $169 over 5 years.
We can't. Can you deliver this tomorrow?
See the good sports, your Greater Detroit Chrysler Plymouth dealers.
Wouldn't you be happier in Hawaii? Aloha, I'm Ed Hogan, owner of Pleasant Hawaiian Holidays, where we've made paradise affordable. Look at this low price for a wonderful week in Waikiki. It includes round-trip airfare and hotel accommodation. Who says you can't buy happiness? It's just a phone call away. So see your travel agent or call us toll-free at 800-2-HAWAII. You'll be happier in Hawaii on a Pleasant Hawaiian Holiday.
Looking at today's community calendar for this weekend, enjoy the song, food, dance, and culture of more than 30 countries at around-the-world festivals this weekend at Hart Plaza in downtown Detroit. Enjoy the 6th annual Motor City Bluegrass Festival tomorrow from noon until 7 at Meadowbrook in Rochester. Or you can get into the game at the 1985 Gaming Convention tonight and tomorrow at the Michigan Gaming Center. Call 544-9632 for more information.
For over 300 years, they've been coming.
You are a dreamer until your dreams come true.
And while most haven't brought riches, they have brought dreams.
Then you're a leader, and they're all looking up to you. You have the courage to see your dreams through. The dreamer, the leader, they're one and the same in you.
At the Wall Street Journal, we believe that the most precious resources a country can have are the hopes of its people, because tomorrow's achievements grow out of today's dreams.
You have the courage to see your dreams through. Your dreams through. The dreamer, the leader, the one and the same in you.
The Wall Street Journal, the daily diary of the American dream.
Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, May 31st, and at 6:48, 64 degrees. Good morning once again as we move into the second half of our program now. We're looking forward to our morning business report with Jennifer Moore, freeway conditions from Metro Traffic, and Davy Marlin Jones' movie review, and Vicki.
And I'll be reviewing the thunderstorms we had, possibly some more developing, but right now it looks as if the overnight worst is over.
And at 6:48, here's a headline update. Severe thunder, lightning storms early this morning, some flooding, some trees down, and some power outages. Today is the last day for the Stroh Brewery Company to make beer in Detroit. 1,200 workers will have to find new jobs. Police investigating a shooting in the northwest side last night in Detroit. Israeli Prime Minister rejects a call for an international peace conference. And another Soviet offensive breaks through Afghan resistance fighters. Soccer teams from Britain may be barred from competition after this week's rioting that killed some 40 people in Belgium. President Reagan traveled to Pennsylvania to try to win support for his tax simplification plan. The Soviets call on the U.S. to show its goodwill at arms talks at Geneva by giving up on research on space weapons. Well, Vicki has the latest right now on yet another rainy start for Metro Detroit, the weekend coming up and whatnot.
The weekend's looking good because we're getting all the rain and thunderstorms out of the way today. That's one good bit of news. Let's look at the local radar, and you can see those thunderstorms that came rattling through the metro area within the past 2 hours are now well over southern Ontario, just east of Lake St. Clair. Those showers with a few heavier embedded thunderstorms continue to move in an easterly direction at about 35 miles per hour. That's not to say we're totally out of the woods, though. Some more could redevelop. As we look on the traveler's forecast map, you can see that that system will still be with us, and that means there will be showers and thunderstorms to our northwest and more to our southeast. We'll be right in the middle, so we could get a few scattered here and there. The deep south, sunny and warm. More turbulent weather, though, showing up in the middle Atlantic coast. Clouds in the far west. Richmond will be partly cloudy and hit a high of 85. Las Vegas, partly cloudy. They'll be hot, though, 90 this afternoon. Speaking of the heat being on, Tampa 90 under sunny skies. Partly sunny in New Orleans with 92 for their afternoon high. And if you're headed to San Francisco, somewhat cooler under cloudy skies, 60 degrees. Phoenix fair and hot, 95 this afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Vicki. In Pontiac, the roof of the Silver Dome was puffed up this morning for the first time in 3 months. Yesterday, in a span of 1 hour, powerful fans inside the dome built up the pressure to reinflate the Teflon-coated fiberglass roof back into place. Total cost for the big blow-up and replacement, that is, was $11 million. The Internal Revenue Service, which is sending out tax refunds at the rate of $3 million per week, is about to start including a few extra dollars in many of those checks. Any tax refund check that resulted from a tax return filed before the April 15th deadline will begin drawing 13% interest today. For example, if you have a $1,500 refund coming, your interest would be $24.77. Every little bit counts. Tim Coleman has the rest of today's business news in our Friday report.
Good morning. At the top of this morning's business news is word from Ford that the company is indeed a bidder for Hughes Aircraft. General Motors, Boeing, and other companies are also believed involved in the multi-billion-dollar bidding for the aerospace firm. Hughes Aircraft is heavily involved in the national defense industry. A mixed bag of news from Consumers Power tonight. The troubled utility has got a new debt arrangement with its creditors for the $1.2 billion it owes. But that means Consumers is closer to getting the $99 million rate hike for its electric customers. Those of you who spend your money on Consumers gas don't have to worry, though. The utility says it's getting lower than expected gas costs for the third month in a row. And those savings should be soon passed along to the more than 1 million people who get their gas from Consumers. There was no great news to fuel activity on Wall Street yesterday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average picked up less than 3 points to close at just below 1,306. Volume topped 108 million shares. And while SEMTA has been out of the railroad business for nearly 2 years, it might be in the locomotive selling business very soon. Transportation authorities from Virginia and California are inquiring about the 5 locomotives SEMTA has had in storage since it stopped commuter rail service in 1983. No decision will be made on the sale until later in the summer. No prices have been mentioned yet, at least not publicly. That's this morning's business news. We'll have a complete update on all the latest business news later today on News 4. I'm Tim Coleman.
Time right now, 6:53. Let's check back with Hugh Carlson at Metro Traffic for an update.
Well, Dwayne, the situation is this on the north and southbound Lodge Freeway, the worst of it right in the area where the freeway meets the Davison, and state police will flag you completely off the freeway there. The standing water is 2 feet deep. East and westbound 94 is still closed to traffic between 8 and 9 Mile Road due to flooding. 6 inches of water on that southbound 75 ramp to the westbound Davison. That's a quick look at the traffic situation at 6:53. Hugh Carlson, News 4. Back to you, Dwayne.
Thank you, Hugh. When we come back, Davy Marlin Jones, a brief Friday morning movie review.
And I'll have a 5-day forecast that looks a little drier than it does this morning. Stay with us.
Wake up to the hottest, freshest variety of breakfast under the morning sun. For flaky croissant sandwiches, breakfast platters with fresh baked blueberry muffins, crispy French toast sticks with maple syrup, and much, much more.
Wake up to Arby's. You're right. Wake up where you belong.
Now, save up to $2 on admission to Bob Lowe Island. Pick up your discount admission coupons at all participating Arby's restaurants. No purchase necessary.
Is it me or my Dick Harris Cadillac? Seems we turn all heads no matter where we're at. I need to know for sure. Is it me or my Dick Harris Cadillac?
The Highland 2-Day Sale. This Friday and Saturday, every Highland appliance store will look like this. Because during Highland's 2-Day Sale, there'll be thousands of bargains on everything in the store. Like this Philco 11 cubic foot Space Saver refrigerator with adjustable shelves, just $269. Save $120. Highland's 2-Day Sale. You've got 2 whole days to save, but you'd better hurry, because when prices are this low, time flies.
Now there's a fade cream that won't disappoint you. Fade Away Skin Lightener by Francis Denny. The only fade cream so effective, it comes with a guarantee. So if you're not satisfied with the way Fade Away lightens brown spots, just return it with proof of purchase for a full refund. Of course, Fade Away costs a little more than other fade creams, but then we guarantee a real disappearing act. Fade Away, available from trained Francis Denny cosmeticians at fine stores everywhere.
The Shriners will give free hospital treatment to any burned or crippled child, regardless of race, color, or creed. Call 831-7600.
Well, if you're looking for something to do on this rainy Friday, Davy Marlon Jones suggests you go see the new film, The Hit, a movie he says is bound to be a hit with you.
In The Hit, a professional killer is having a very bad day. Because he's having a rotten one, we have a good one. That's The Hit.
This is not a movie for everyone. It examines life by crowding us in a car with death. A hitman must kill. A squealer must die. But what does it do to the values of the not-so-innocent bystanders? The Hit is a gangster movie for people who like philosophy mixed in with their bloodshed. By its own standards, the strange, disquieting flick is a blockbuster. Davy Marlon Jones.
What are you doing?
Now, the 5-day weather forecast.
And you thought the weather this morning was bad, huh? Anyway, the next 5 days are shaping up. Today, a little tumultuous. We could have a few more thunderstorms before the day is out. Our temperatures will be mild in the low to mid-80s, anywhere from 81 to 84 degrees, and it will be breezy. The weekend is looking real good under fair skies. Will be a little bit cooler into the mid-70s, and then cooling down more on Monday when the risk of some more rain and thunder showers develops again. Then Tuesday, fair skies in 72. The Weather Watch update line, 1-976-1212, is the number you can dial to get Detroit's latest weather information. And of course, just in case any more severe weather develops, you know, I'll be here, Mouse will be here, we'll be here throughout the day and keep you posted on the development.
I certainly hope so. Back in a moment with a recap.
So your Chrysler New Yorker 5th Avenue has most of the luxury features of my Caddy Seville. What's the big deal?
My 5th Avenue was over $9,000 less.
Your Chrysler Plymouth dealer says compare 5th Avenue for 49 standard luxury features, for a 5-year, 50,000-mile protection plan, and for price. 5th Avenue is a great value. Drive it and see why. We shake up the competition.
See the good sport, your Greater Detroit Chrysler Plymouth dealers.
Target grand opening. The building team hurries to meet the deadline. All major carpet mills participate with big opening specials. The store is open, the sale is on. The carpets are low priced. Padding's free, and you get 6 months credit free. Philadelphia Plush, $588. Salem High-Low, $493. Horizon Sculpture, $488. Thousands of rolls, grand opening priced, and padding's free with any carpet. Our biggest, lowest price grand opening sale is happening now at all our stores. But it ends this Saturday, so hurry to New York Carpet World.
Get your weekend moving to the beat. Put some motion in your life this Saturday. Catch Dad's Fever.